This is the West Michigan Sports Show, presented by the United States Air Force. Now, here's your host, Brandon Wirth.
Welcome in, everybody, here to the West Michigan Sports Show, presented by our great friends at Bezos Digital. Yours truly, Brandon Wirth, joining you here this Saturday, May 11th. We're recording this as of May 10th, which means we got postseason to recap upcoming, and we got a lot of stuff for you here today. We'll get into the local sports scoreboard over the last 2 weeks, catch you up to speed, give you some notable team results as well as individual performances on the track, as well as a preview some big matchups coming up. Postseason is almost here, folks, so we'll get you some of the teams that you should keep an eye out for here in the postseason for softball, baseball, girls soccer, track and field, tennis, golf, and everywhere in between, as well as at the very end of the show. Really excited about this. MHSAA just came out with their spring meeting addendum and everything that is going to be moving forward next year, as well as in 25 and 26 school years. And there's some really heavy stuff that will be changing here. I'll get to that, my thoughts, as well as what I've heard from fellow athletes and coaches already. And we'll talk about if it's good, it's bad, or what might change even further going into years ahead. But before we get into the thick of the episode, we want to thank our great sports supporters for making this show possible. Those include Bezos Digital as the new primary sponsor here at the West Michigan Sports Show, real business solutions in the digital world. You can find out more here at the Big Rapids Media Network to learn more on how Bezos Digital can help you in your business, as well as all of our other great sponsors, including Johnson's Automotive, Schuberg Insurance Agency, Quality Car and Truck Repair, Alter Care Big Rapids, Paris Auto Sales and Service of Big Rapids, Moto the Mikasa Transit Authority, and the Mikasa Osceola Career Center. So thank you all for your support of the show, no matter where you are, WBRN.com, as well as post-production, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or live with us over the airwaves right now at 96.5, 107.7, and 1460. We appreciate all of your support. But we waste no more time. We get right into it. We're going all the way back to April 26th, where we last left off. Central Montcalm and Big Rapids split a pair in a baseball doubleheader. That 8-2. The Montcalm Hornets win that one, and Cardinals win game 2, 15-8. Grant sweeps Tri-County as well, 10-7, 11-5, respective scores there. Kent City gets one from Reed City, 11-0. The Coyotes win game 1. The Eagles fight back to split in game 2, 4-3. Newaygo sweeps Lakeview, 11-1 and 13-3, respectively, there from Lakeview. And Molly Stanwood splits against Blanchard and Montebello in non-conference action. They fall in game 1, 7-5, but battle back for an 8-1 victory in 6 innings at home. As well as the final baseball score, Chip Hills sweeps White Cloud, 11-4, 9-4, respectively, there from Remus. Softball side, the Hornets fall to the Cardinals, 11-1 and 5-4. Tight games there from Stanton. For Grant, they get a sweep over Tri-County, 29-4 and 16-1. Yes, you heard that correctly, 45 runs to 5. Dominant performance for the Tigers. They're playing against the Tri-County Vikings. Kent City over against Reed City, 10-0. Reed City wins there in that second game, which one was already postponed earlier due to weather, so they finish up that game. Reed City gets the win, as well as Newaygo goes on the road and beats Lakeview in a pair, 10-0 and 25-10. Your final scores there. Molly Stanwood defeats Montebello, 11-5, 12-8, and White Cloud holds on for a sweep against the Warriors on the road of Chip Hills, 13-3 and 9-6. In women's soccer, Greenville against Lakeview, it's the Wildcats taking down Greenville 6-3, your score there. Shelby falls to Tri-County there in Howard City, 2-0 the score there. Grant falls to Muskegon Orchard View, 3-0, and Newaygo takes down Ravenna, 1-0. There, the Bulldogs fall to the Lions. And finally, the Cardinals fall to Sparta. Big Rapids takes a 2-1 loss in non-conference action there to the Spartans. So there you go for April 26th, as well as we'll recap all of the scores coming up from track and field here in just a moment. On April 27th, a day later, Big Rapids splits with the Trojans of TC Central. They fall in game 1, 9-3, but battle back for a This is right, 20-0 win there in 3 innings in game number 2. Talk about a turnaround for that team. Reed City went to the St. Francis tournament. They win game 1 against Benzie Central 11-0, fall to Ogama Heights in game 2, 8-2, and then fall to St. Francis 6-4 in the triple header nightcap there. And that was, those were all in softball action, not baseball. I made sure to correct myself here. Those are softball scores there from the Traverse City St. Francis tournament. 2 days ahead on April 29th, the games that were able to get in on the girls soccer side. Reed City Mercy's Benzie Central on the road, 8-0 the score there. Cadillac Heritage Christian downs Chip Hills 4-3 there in that game later on that night in Cadillac, as well as Lakeview and Ravenna battled to a 3-2 decision. It's the Bulldogs over the Wildcats in non-conference action. April 30th, back to CSAA baseball. Big Rapids sweeps Kent City 11-0 and 11-1. Final scores there. Central Montcalm and Grant do battle. It's the Tigers getting the sweep over the Hornets on the road, 6-3 and 3-2. Your scores there. Tri-County against Morley Stanwood. It would be the Mohawks winning in game 1, but the Vikings in game 2, 5-4 and 10-0. Those scores in respective order. Reed City against Newaygo. Reed City falls in game 1 at home to the Lions 5-4, but battle back for the win in the nightcap 8-6 there in 5 innings. And White Cloud takes on Lakeview and gets a sweep 4-3 and 13-6. Your scores there from White Cloud. On the other side for softball, Big Rapids gets wins over Kent City. They win 2-1 and 12-1 respectively. Central Montcalm gets a 5-1 and 10-0 win against the Tigers of Grant at home. Tri-County falls to Morley Stanwood 22-7 and 26-3. Your final scores, both of those in 3-inning contest. Reed City sweeps Newaygo 12-2 and 7-5, the respective scores there. And White Cloud battles to a split against Lakeview. They win the opener 4-0 as the Wildcats win game 2 11-10 in a high-scoring affair there from White Cloud. Going ahead to May 1st, Montebello Chip Hills. It would be the Warriors in 2, 16-3 and 11-3. Your scores there. Newaygo falls to Coopersville in a pair, 6-3 and 7-4 in those competitive games. Grant against Whitehall. It would be the Tigers that would fall to the Vikings 9-2 and 13-10, the respective scores there. Saranac hosts to the Hornets of Central Montcalm, and the Hornets get 2 wins. They win 8-5 and 8-2, respectively, in those road contests, as well as Chip Hills would split with Blanchard Montebello 20-10 and 9-7, the respective scores there. The Warriors split with Montebello. In the 2 girls soccer games that had that day, Newaygo wins at Reed City 2-0, and Kent City beats Chip Hills on the road 2-1. To May 3rd, only couple games that were not canceled. Kent City decided to bear the elements and get their games in against White Cloud, and unfortunately, it'd be White Cloud on the road, 5-4 and 8-2, the scores there. In baseball action, Reed City travels to Morley Stanwood. The Coyotes get the sweep over the Mohawks, 7-2 and 11-1 in those games, as well as Newaygo gets a pair from Belding. The Black Knights 8-0 and 3-2. The scores in those games. In girls soccer, Big Rapids falls to Mount Pleasant 7-1 there in girls soccer action at home. Grant hosts Comstock Park and falls 2-1 there to Comstock. Lakeview against Ithaca wins 4-2. That's the Wildcats over top of the Jackets. Montague wins 7-0 over the Lions of Newaygo at home. And Santa Sterling wipes out Chip Hills in a shutout, 7-0 score there. In softball, Kent City over White Cloud in a pair, 11-0 and 1-0. Talk about 2 different ball games right there. Close games, but Kent City wins and holds the Indians scoreless. Morley Stanwood takes on Reed City, and the Coyotes continue their tear offensively this year. 22-8 and 16-0 there for Coach Steeg's team, as well as all the other scores coming up here as well on May 4th. What we got for you? Pine River against Morley Stanwood. They win 1-0. This one took a major league outing, 9 innings to finish, as well as White Cloud takes down Hesperia in tournament action, 15-4, your respective scores there. May 6th, Chip Hills against Big Rapids. Cardinals beat the Warriors 5-2, your score there. And in softball, the lone CSA team in action was Grant. In non-conference action, they would split with Muskegon Orchard View, 26-9 win and 11-10 loss there for the Tigers. Girls soccer, Big Rapids over Tri-County in a huge conference title decider, 3-1. The Cardinals take down the Vikings. Wildcats blank Kent City. They win 8-0 at home. Grant wins the M37 rivalry on the road, 1-0, your final score there. And Reed City holds off Chip Hills for a 4-2 victory there at home. Finally, we're in the home stretch, guys. Hang on. Big Rapids against Morley Stanwood. They win both games 11-1 and 4-2. Tri-County falls to Reed City, or I should say in game 1, but they come back for a win in game 2, 18-5 and 8-1, the final scores there. Muskegon Orchard View. How about Muskegon Oak Ridge taking on Grant? They win 3-0 there in baseball action. Comstock and Newaygo took battle, and the Lions win at home in both 6-1, 5-1 scores there. Chip Hills against Kent City, and it'll be the Warriors taking down the Eagles 7-6 and 4-0. Those scores there from Remus. In softball, Central Montcalm falls to Beale City in 2. They lose 16-2 and 10-6, as well as Reed City blanks Tri-County in a big way. 47 combined runs for the Coyotes, none for the Vikings. Those are the respective scores there. Girls soccer, Grant and Reed City. It'd be the Coyotes over the Tigers 2-0. Newaygo over Kent City 5-1, as well as Big Rapids wins on the road against Lakeview 6-1, and Tri-County Mercies on Chip Hills 9-1. Your final scores there. That's going to be the action there from the box scores, as well as in track and field action. We do have some team scores to report as well. In the Grant Tri from this last week, Kent City sweeps. They get it over Chippewa Hills and Grant on the men's side, as well as Grant falls to Chip Hills. So that gets you to Chip Hills with the split, and Grant going 0-2, Kent City 2-0 in that contest. On the women's side, it'd be Chip Hills getting the win. In both action, they beat Kent City as well as Grant, and Kent City takes down Grant to get the split. So Kent City 1-1, Grant 0-2, and Chip Hills 2-0. From Morley Stanwood in a quad with Central Montcalm, Newaygo, and Tri-County, it would be Central Montcalm going 2-1. It would be Tri-County on the men's side getting the full sweep. Morley Stanwood finishes their outing at home 1-2, and Newaygo comes up on the losing end of all three of those. On the women's side, it'd be Montcalm getting the sweep on the road. They win all three. Newaygo also going 0-3 on the women's side. It'd be Tri-County registering 2 wins, and Morley Stanwood, just like the men's, getting 1 win. From the third try, we don't have any team scores for you, unfortunately, but we'll give the full review on next week's show and get you up to speed with everything track and field. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're talking MHSAA new rule changes and some matchups to be on the lookout for here on WBRN. All right, we return here to the West Michigan Sports Show presented by our great friends at Dazos Digital. Some matchups to be on the lookout for upcoming here in the upcoming weeks, and some of these matchups have some big implications on deck. Reed City at Big Rapids, baseball and softball, May 13th, 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock. That's going to be a doozy. Me and Joe are already planning on being there at the station, so come stay high with us, and we will get you some really premier matchups there on the diamond, respectively, both sides. As well as in softball and baseball action, Grant hosting Chip Hills. This should be a very interesting contest on the baseball diamond, as well as on the softball diamond, too. 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock there from the home of the Tigers, respectively, there in those conference matchups. Girls soccer will start their CSAA tournament on May 13th, which will be very interesting to follow on Monday. Lakeview against Reed City, as well as Tri-County hosting Kent City. Grant and Newaygo will be squaring off in Big Rapids, Chip Hills. Those games at 4:30 and 6 o'clock from their respective locations. If you want more, go on to MHSAA.com or your local's team schedule to find out more information. Golf will also be taking place at Lake City. We'll see some CSAA teams in action there as well on the 13th. As well as some other upcoming matchups later on near the weekend, including track and field regionals, which will be taking place upcoming here quick, fast, in a hurry. And you can find all those assignments at athletic.net.com, as well as we will preview some of those and review a lot of those when we are upcoming on next week's show. This should be really fun to see all of these athletes at their best upcoming with regionals, which this feels like the perfect opportunity to segue into our new MHSAA rule changes and amendments coming for the next 2 years. These were announced at the spring meetings in Gaylord this past Monday and Tuesday, May 5th and May 6th, and officially released May 9th on Thursday for the upcoming year. So we'll run through everything in a quick list format, and then I'll come back and break it down piece by piece here before we continue on the show. The one I'll start with right away, alluding to here going into the transition, automatic state qualification standards will be in place for track and field athletes, so there will be automatic qualifying standards that can be hit for an athlete to automatically qualify in the regular season for the state championships. Very big move there from the MHSAA. Also, there will be strengthened suspensions for inappropriate behavior towards officials, resulting in potential 2-week suspensions for athletes, coaches, and a postseason ban. We'll get into more of that here in a little bit. There will be a team championship added for girls wrestling. We added the individual aspect of the bracket. Now team scores based on that postseason success will be added this upcoming year. Winter sports schedules will be concluded before the school spring break period. It sounds like the schedules will be condensed as much as possible for teams to get their games in during the true winter time before spring break. Basketball and soccer district tournament seeding will now be put on the Michigan Power ratings and be based on those numbers. This is something that actually was being discussed for more than just those two sports, but basketball and soccer will move forward with them. There will be classification adjustments in regard to 8-player and 11-player football teams. So this really only applies for teams that are hovering near the Division 8 area of 11-man and then into the 8-man transition period. So that's really the only place. It sounds a little more broader than it is, but it's more basically for who can classify as 8-man and 11-man when your school is got an enrollment size of around 250 more or less. There will be penalty amendments for ineligible weight classifications in wrestling. So that one would be very interesting to monitor. There will be a first half running clock for soccer when the mercy rule is reached by goal deficit. This is something that will speed up more games based on the difficulty being so drastically different between two teams. Electronic baseball pitch count submissions being required by coaches after contests. This is just a reporting thing that was an issue apparently in some areas, not all. That will be addressed here in the next upcoming year. And this one, finally, football preseason scrimmages will be conducted only after the Wednesday of the second week of practice and only when the team has conducted 7 practice days before their first scrimmage. So that is a new rule that is put into place. You cannot scrimmage right away. You must have a week, 7 days at least of practice, and it cannot take place until after the Friends Day, after the practice period has begun. Also, the two big sports here before we carousel back around. There will be 2 sports added in 25-26. Looking 2 years down the road, they're going to take this year as a development period, and then it'll be officially a go in 25-26. Boys volleyball and girls field hockey will be added as MHSAA-sponsored tournament sports. The volleyball season will be in the spring, while girls field hockey will be played in the fall. And for those curious, first time we've had sponsored sports lineup additions in the MHSAA since 2004, when this one sport that you may have heard of called lacrosse was added to the lineup. So really cool stuff there from the MHSAA to add those 2 sports. I'll be very curious to see what the area will look like if any of these teams add any of these sports. So there's the whole thick of it. Now let's break it down in a quick style fashion. We'll go back through the list again. And if you want more information on this, once again, go to WBRN.com, BigRapidsDailyNews.com. I have a full article written out to summarize a lot of this, as well as an additional link to the MHSAA press release so you can know all the details on their language, what all of these rules changes mean. So here we go. The first one, strengthen suspensions for inappropriate behavior towards officials. This is a big thumbs up for me. Absolutely is necessary. And a lot of this stuff that they're referring to as inappropriate behavior, biting, kicking, slapping, physically assaulting an official, we should never have to question that. There's no question about it, whether you're a coach, a player. We can't have any of that happen. 14-day suspension, postseason ban. Yes, these are all strict rules and enforced penalties that should definitely be in consideration if somebody goes above and beyond to have that sort of an outbreak. Adding a team championship for girls wrestling. Love it. This is a good green flag for me as well. You're going to be looking, especially, I'm sure, a lot of coaches on how this is going to be really kind of looked at, because obviously there's less teams that will be in consideration that can hold a wrestling team. It sounds like more they're going to group the individual efforts of one school, and that'll be kind of how it's decided upon. So not too familiar on how that will exactly be conducted, but I think overall the idea, yeah, absolutely. Girls team wrestling seems like it's something that's going to be here before we know it. And so let's introduce it now and see if we can get team awards for those programs that have successfully developed a championship team within girls wrestling. Winter sports schedules concluding before school spring break period. This one, I think I'm going to have a thumbs up right in the middle, and you can slant it a little bit to the positive side. And the only reason I have hesitancy is, of course, you're going to be now wondering if this year we're going to see so many games in a period that we're going to see teams get more burnt out, and that's going to result in less games being played later on. I think that's not necessarily the solution that we want, but maybe now this is more of a situation where I think everybody can agree it'll be nice to finish before spring break with a lot of these sports, especially those teams that are going to be sacrificing their spring break to be playing late in the postseason for a lot of these events. But I think it's overall a good thing, but How that's going to be conducted with obviously the push of fall sports will be the question. Does that mean we're going to limit games? If that's so, a lot of people are going to have a frowny face, but I think we can all agree that finishing that sport before the spring, I think overall is a thumbs up. Basketball and soccer district tournament seeding with power ratings. Yes, plus the big thumbs up. There's more than just a record to define a team, and I think especially with a lot of the randomized seeding, there's some teams that just don't really get a fair chance, and that's unfortunate to think about. So I think overall the Michigan power rating is one of the best at overall really kind of ranking and seeding a lot of these teams. So I think overall, really nice move by the MHSAA to invoke it. I want to see them also do it for baseball and softball potentially down the road. Classification adjustments for 11-man to 8-man. This one seems kind of confusing, but here's really what you need to know about the change here. The biggest thing that they are doing is they want to try to keep as many teams in 11-man as possible. So they're trying to protect the small schools, and basically what they're going to do is they're going to cap the enrollment of D8 schools at 250 students and then divide the rest of the 11-player schools evenly to determine the enrollment lines for the other 7 divisions. And then as more schools have switched to 8-player, larger schools are now shifting into Division 8 for 11-man, and this will allow Division 8 schools to play similarly small schools in the postseason. This will be actually an effect that will be in 25-26, but will probably be experimented with schedule-wise in 24-25. Overall, I think this one's kind of in the middle. I think that right now putting the cap on the number, obviously with the fluctuating enrollment numbers, is going to either really help or really hurt. I think this could be a really interesting year to see where this goes, just based on where a lot of these schools start to fluctuate, because you really don't want to shoehorn a lot of these teams into forcing them really to be down at 8-man if they can get back up, even with a low number of students, because that's kind of what it is. But it's guaranteeing that these smaller schools also will only play smaller schools if they move on into Division 8, which I think is a very big plus, because sometimes that fluctuation will really create these dynasty teams that are really strictly focusing on football. So overall, I'm going to put this one right in the middle. Also in the middle is the one that many people have asked me about, because I have the experience of what this is like at the college level. Track and field automatic qualifications. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? I'm going right in the middle. I like the idea because it's not putting as much pressure on the regional race, especially if you got injuries that might be prohibited by a lot of external circumstance the regular season. But I am not for the idea of really putting more people in the state meet. It should be an event where only the elite of the elite are there, hence why it's called the state finals. So I think these standards have to be really high, or you're going to see way too many inflated numbers, and we're going to create problems for down the road. So overall, I'm going to put my thumb right in the middle on this one just to see where this goes. The first half running clock for soccer when a mercy rule is reached, I think we can all agree this is a giant thumbs up. Everything going to move forward, and let's finish that game and move on. There's obviously an outcome that will be very much determined. Let's not waste any time getting there. Ineligible weight classifications in wrestling. Like the idea that we got to keep everything honest, but how is this going to be monitored, right? So this one might be a little bit thumbs up, and I might be slanting a little bit towards the negative side. And it's only because that when we have the situation, I'm obviously, if there's a situation where somebody is found that is at the wrong weight class, absolutely I understand that 100% should be addressed. But maybe this is now something where we need to look at a standard weight classification moving forward. Everybody should have the same system in order for this to not be, there's not any discrepancy. So that's something that I think we'll maybe need to look at more long term. Baseball pitch count submissions after contests. Yes, I think they should be really kind of proven in the, maybe this is part of the lineup exchange that coaches can have, and this is a way to keep everybody on track. The preseason scrimmages one, I'm only going to be actually a little bit against this one, and the only reason why is because you're not sure exactly what to practice on, because you don't know what you need to improve on until you really play another team. So that's going to be my opinion on that one, leaning a little bit towards the negative. But there's my thoughts. If you want to let me know, log on to WBRN.com on the contact form. Let me know on your opinion, and we'll bring it here on the show. But that's going to do it on the West Michigan Sports Show presented by Bezos Digital. Brandon Wirth signing off until next weekend right here on News Radio WBRN.